kids. Today we are going to meet some women with some fascinating stories to tell, including rock and roll star Jerry Lee Lewis's ex-wife, Myra Lewis, and the woman who was married to the late Jim Croce. Ingrid Croce is here. But first I would like to bring out a very special lady. She's a musician, she's author, she's a photographer, she has photographed rock music's greatest stars, and she just happened to sneak off with my favorite Beatle, Paul McCartney. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Linda McCartney.
This is amazing.
My heavens! The new book is great. I had the best time looking at that thing.
Thank you. Lots of memories, yes?
Yeah, boy, you have hung out with everybody, haven't you?
Well, I photographed everybody. Hung out with them, too. It's true.
Well, you kind of have to hang out with them to photograph them in a toilet and things, and you've got some interesting photographs in there. I want to backtrack to how in the world you got into photography, because it was kind of an interesting, silly story.
I worked at Town & Country magazine at a real flunky job, really like receptionist, but worse. And I opened all the mail and gave it to the different editors. And one day an invitation came, meet the Rolling Stones on a yacht. So I went, stuck it in my drawer, forget it. I thought they won't want to go. So they found the invitation. They said, actually, we don't want to go. You go. So I went down to this boat basin, and there were millions of journalists, photographers, everything. And I had my camera around my neck, and I was total, and still am in a funny way, an amateur photography. I like taking pictures, but I don't know much about the mechanics. So somebody came up to me and said, we don't have room for all the journalists and the photographers. You will be the photographer. And I didn't say anything, and I just went on. Took lots of pictures, fingers crossed they turned out, which they did. And then when I got off the boat, all the journalists said, well, we need photographs to go with our story. So I said, here they are. And a lot of them liked the photographs so much they kept giving me work.
Right. So now you're now a single mother.
Right.
Living in New York.
A little girl, yeah.
You never studied photography.
No.
All of a sudden, you are a photographer, too, the biggest rock musicians in the world.
Well, what happened was I was inspired to be a photographer through the great early American photographers like Walker Evans and Dorothea Lange and some of the French photographers, Cartier-Bresson. So I was inspired by the art of photography. So I was taking pictures in an artistic way. I never thought I'd make a living from it. So, yeah, there I was. I quit my job, much to my father's chagrin. And
your receptionist job? Oh, get over it, Dad.
$65 a week,
really,
Dad,
get over it, Dad.
I said, hey, Dad, I'm making more money as a photographer than I am at the magazine, so.
Now, of all the people that you shot, who did you really actually hang out with?
Most of the people in the book, because I lived in New York, and most of the groups came from England or L.A. or San Francisco or something, so we became friendly, and they said, well,
Jim Morrison?
Jim Morrison.
Were you friends with him?
Very good friends, yeah. Very artistic, very poetic, deep person. Not like you'd think he was.
Jimi Hendrix?
My favorite guitar player of all time.
Yeah.
No, again, it's very sensitive. You keep hearing, now that they're dead, all these images of these freaky, they were more poets, I think.
You found them to be sort of down to earth?
Down to earth and very deep people and very good friends.
Yeah. Are you still friends with any of them?
Yeah, most of the living ones.
Who do you all hang out with? Who do you hang out with?
Us guys, me and Paul, you mean?
Yeah.
Well, who do we hang out with? All different people from everywhere. We have a lot of friends. Not like that many in showbiz, but musicians and so on.
Are musicians different than people in show business, do you think?
No, I think if people are nice and kind, it doesn't matter what they do.
Do you? Because, no, I'm just thinking, generally speaking, I find musicians are sort of more almost introverted and shy and almost more down to earth than actors who are sometimes sort of out there, whoop, 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 you know?
Well, actors do that again, Vicky.
Whoop, whoop, whoop. They are.
Yeah, so, I think you're right. They're not quite, I think actors are hams. Even though I'm vegetarian, I use the word ham.
Well, you can use it in reference to the actors, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
So now here, you're a single mom, you're in New York, all of a sudden you've launched this photography career, and you never studied photography.
Nope.
I'm glad to hear that, because I love to do amateur photography. I'm my kid's favorite photographer.
I love it. I don't use a flash, I don't have a light meter, I don't have a studio, I never had an assistant, but I love taking pictures.
And you always shoot in black and white?
Always. Well, a little color.
Yeah.
These days it's a bit better, the color.
So how do you get to the Beatles? How did you get there?
Well, after a while, people started saying, we're doing this, we're doing that. And a fellow came to me and said he's doing a book on music, and would I take the pictures? So I traveled around, and we went to England, and I wanted to photograph Stevie Winwood and the Beatles. So I took my portfolio to Brian Epstein's office and left it there a few days and went back to pick it up. And they said, oh, he really likes your pictures. Yes, you may photograph the Beatles, and he'd like to buy 2 of your photographs. One of Keith Moon and one of Brian Jones. I said, he can have the photographs, you know. So it was around the time of Sgt. Pepper.
Yes.
There you go.
I know.
I
wore my Memorial Sgt. Pepper suit today, sort of.
Yeah, I saw that.
You're kind of more in your Abbey Road stuff. I'm kind of more in my... Yeah.
So they were taking pictures of the Beatles, lots, again, journalists and photographers. And by then I mainly took photographs on my own, not with other photographers, but there were lots there at Brian's house. They were all standing there in front of his mantelpiece.
Now, wait, how old were you? And when was this?
Early 20s, 67, 8.
So they were well established. Were you
More
all...
than the other people in my book, they were more established.
And did you have preconceived notions about any of the Beatles? Like, did you have a crush on any one of them, like every one of us women in the world?
I didn't have a crush on any of them, but the music, like everyone, I loved. And I thought John Lennon was incredible. You know, I thought John Lennon, you know, he's got to be self-assured and very bright, and like the way he was very upfront. Of course, when I met him, he wasn't that upfront. He was quite shy and insecure. You wouldn't have thought
Really?
I think everything they went through had taken its toll on him, you know. It was quite crazy.
Yeah?
Yeah.
So, was it like instant sparks when you and Paul, did your eyes meet across the
Actually,
crowd?
funnily enough, I met Paul a few nights before at a club. So I actually didn't meet him at this photo session.
Yeah.
I photographed a group called The Animals a lot in New York. So when I came to England, they said, well, look, we'll take you out. So I went down to see somebody named Georgie Fame. Do you know him in the Blue Flames? Really sitting in the park and a few other songs. Come on, Vicky, you must know.
No, I don't remember that.
Anyway, we went down to a club. He was very good, very good guy. Anyway, and I went down with The Animals and we were listening. The music was great. And in walks Paul and some other friends. And he sat at a table. We were sitting here by the band, and there was somebody else. And our eyes sort of met, and, you know, it was that kind of thing.
There were sparks?
There was definite sparks.
So what happened? What happened?
So when the band finished, we all got up to leave, and sort of they got up to leave, and everybody started talking, and he and I started talking. And he said, well, we're going on to another club now. Do you want to come? I went, why not? So that's how we met.
Yeah.
At a club.
Well, but then
He
what?
picked me up, literally.
Yeah, so he picked you up. And then what?
I
mean, how, you know, you're visiting Europe now, but you live in America. You didn't up and
No. So then we went to this club. We heard Whiter Shade of Pale. You know,
I remember that
for the
one, yeah.
first time, and everybody said, "Who is this? What is this?" And then I went back to New York, kept taking pictures, and I guess it was months. And then I was over taking pictures of Jimi Hendrix one evening. Came back, and I happened to have one of those great New York answer phones, where it's not, they have machines now, tapes, but then people used to take your calls for you. And it was great. And then you'd ring in and they say, well, Linda so-and-so called and so-and-so called. And we got quite friendly. Well, Paul McCartney rang while you were out. And I went, ugh. Anyway.
I'll bet the answering service had a heart
They
attack.
like that.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah,
Paul
they like
McCartney,
that.
yeah, right.
I said, oh,
Sure, I'll tell her you called. This is Winston Churchill. Yeah.
Exactly. So we had a little laugh about that.
Uh-huh.
Anyway, it turns out he had come here to L.A. and he, you know, wanted to say hi while he was in New York. So we met up again, and then he went back to England. I stayed here. And then we met again after that. We kept meeting at places. And then one day he rang up and he said, why don't you come to England? So I said, well, actually, I'm not so sure I want to come to England. I have a daughter I'm about to put in school, and, you know, I wasn't so sure. So I debated it for a while, and then I went.
5 or 10 minutes and said, okay. No. Okay, so this was like a big move, and this was really the beginning of these serious stuff here. So we'll take a little break. And would you believe that Linda actually had second thoughts about marrying Paul McCartney? We're going to find out why when we come back.
Okay.
Pardon me. We're back, and we're chatting with Linda McCartney. She's an incredible photographer, musician, mother, married to what's-his-face. Anyway, so you go to England.
Right.
And what? Cohabitate?
I did debate cohabitate. Well, we just got on fine, and we decided this was it. So then we came back, and I introduced him to my father.
How did that go?
My father's a pretty, serious dude. Mm-hmm. But they got on fine.
Yeah?
And we never looked back from then on.
So you decided to get married?
Well, actually, we were down in the village one day, and we went past a place, I think it said Buddhist marriages or something, and Paul said, come on, let's go do it. I said, no, actually, I had been married before, and I was a single parent, and I had no interest in getting married again. So I said, no, thanks. Simple as that. So we kept dating and everything, and after a while, I gave in.
But the night before you were going to get married, you guys had a fight, or was it the day of?
We didn't really have a fight. It was just sort of, I think it was that unsure commitment from me, do I really want to go do this again?
Yeah. Now, then
I like my freedom.
All of a sudden, yeah, but all of a sudden you're Mrs. Paul McCartney.
I had no idea it was going to be like that.
How hard was that?
For me, hard, because I'm sort of a voyeur in the nicest sense. I like looking at things. I don't like being looked at that much. So, it was weird, if you want to know the truth.
And dealing with the press, how did you do that?
I didn't. Couldn't you tell by what you read about me that I didn't deal with them?
And you had girls breaking into your... Where did they break into your house?
Well, we went on holiday, and they stole all my color photographs and things like that, which was not wonderful. But after a while, you get used to it. And I realized, because I wasn't a showbiz person, I had to look at it and accept it and be warm about it.
But
so
it's
since
hard.
then, now it's easier.
I mean, I totally relate to your relationship. I mean, not totally, because Paul McCartney's like, huge, and I'm minuscule. But
well, I don't know.
But
here you are.
To keep a marriage together, and Al and I have done it for 18 years now, so we're catching you.
Yeah, you're getting there.
Sorta.
I wonder if you're passive.
Probably won't ever pass you, but we're catching. But it's hard that the other person has to really. Like I go into we could go check into a hotel, and people will ask Al, who are you?
Oh, I know. Well, see, I didn't mind
I always
that.
say he's my love broker.
I like it. Love broker. Good. But I didn't mind that. People say, oh, don't you hate holding on to his arm? No, that's fine. I never wanted to be anything other than a happy person, really.
But now, how do you figure you've kept it together for, is it 23 years?
23 years.
23 years. I couldn't believe it.
Wow, silver anniversry soon. My God, it's
I
only
know.
for parents, isn't it? And grandparents?
Really? Really?
Oh, God.
How have you done it? What do you think is the secret?
Sense of humor. And I think compromising a bit. You have to realize each person, needs a bit of space. And I think encouragement. Probably love helps.
Do you think friendship? I think friendships helps
really
a lot.
helps.
Because love sort of comes and goes.
Well, I think of love as friendship, but you're right. Friendship.
Yeah.
That's the most important. I think if you're good friends, that's what it's about.
Do you think him having you be in the band and having you on tour with him, and I mean, you guys literally are together all the time.
All the time. I think it helps too, because we stay in tune that way. I think. I mean, I'm happy not to be there all the time, but we seem to want to be together.
But he likes having you there.
He does.
Now let's talk about the kids. How many kids now?
4.
4
And
kids.
you got 2.
I've got 2. Your youngest is a
same age as yours?
Teenager. And you are strict vegetarians.
Well, I love animals, and I don't think we should eat them. I'm not strict. I just think we should eat the grain direct rather than via a dead animal.